recording. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Kidney Talkies. I'm a kidney warrior Deepthi Behel, and today we have a special guest, Alex, with us. Hi Alex.
Hi, DP. How are you?
I'm doing good, Alex. So could you please tell a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
Sure.
And what's your connection to kidney disease?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, so my name is Alex. I currently live in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm 46 years old. I'm a family man. I have a partner and two children and two dogs. My children are Xander, who's going to be 11 in August, and my daughter Abigail, who's 15. My partner and fiance, her name is Tamira, and two dogs are Mozzie, a golden retriever, and Gemma, who is a greyhound mix, and it's a very full family, lots going on. And so my connection to kidney disease is that I am now a two-time kidney transplant recipient, and also a professional patient advocate and kidney strategist in the kidney ecosystem. And I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for sharing information about you, Alex. Could you please tell how did you first learn you were diagnosed with the kidney failure?
Sure. So my disease started in 2006 when I thought I had a bout of food poisoning. I was having just all the side effects that come with food poisoning, with GI issues and diarrhea and vomiting. Couldn't keep anything down, and so I was in my community, and I was just kind of trying to figure out what was going on. And I went to an immediate care clinic, which is like kind of like a what they call like a doc in the box, where you go in and see a nurse practitioner, and they can kind of look over your symptoms and kind of see what they could recommend you do. So I went to the immediate care clinic, and they were doing at the time free blood pressure screenings. And so my blood pressure at that time was like 230 over 150. It was wildly high. They thought I was going to have a stroke. They sat me down in a dark room, and they gave me some Norvasc, a blood pressure medication, to see if that was going to help. It didn't even touch it. And so maybe an hour later, after trying to calm me down, I was feeling fine. I didn't have any crazy symptoms at that time, but it was definitely heightened, and they were concerned. So they sent me to the emergency room, and for 3 days, I was kind of almost like a guinea pig and was thrown all these tests. They didn't know what was going on. They did blood work, they did ultrasounds, they did everything. And in the ultrasound, they found out I was only born with one kidney, and that one kidney was failing. Uh, and so I had to, pretty much within 2 to 3 weeks after that initial um, diagnosis telling me my kidney was failing, that I would have to start dialysis. This was in 2006. At the time, there was not really a whole lot of um, education on modality education, on the fact that you can do dialysis different ways. So I pretty much started dialysis um, pretty quickly within 2 to 3 weeks after that diagnosis in center, and was on dialysis for 18 months, and then was fortunate enough to get a living kidney donor at that time, and that lasted for 13 years. And in that 13 years, began to become like a patient advocate and try to talk to patients about the importance of early detection with kidney disease, look at different opportunities to understand about modality education once you start dialysis, if you get to get there. Um, and then in that 13 years, I also worked as a dialysis technician for a dialysis company. Found out really quickly I didn't like it. It was not a very good place to enjoy. I didn't like the work. I liked the patients and talking to them, but the actual workflow of having to string machines and things wasn't for me. It wasn't the best. I didn't have the best in time management, so I didn't like it. And then flash forward to 2020, and my kidney failed again. They think it was due to anti-mediated rejection, so they gave me some IVIG and prednisone to help kind of keep it at bay. That lasted about 6 months, and then COVID happened, 2020, and then it was just kind of at a point where, with COVID, indirectly, even after giving me the IVIG and the prednisone, it just eventually failed, and I went back on dialysis for 5 years. Fast forward now to this year, 2026. In February of this year, I received a second chance at life and received a deceased donor at the at NYU in New York City. And I'm now currently in recovery from the transplant, 4.5 months out, and doing well.
Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing your kidney journey with us. Could you please tell a little bit about the transplant evaluation process and uh, if any patient is newly diagnosed and they want to get themselves evaluated for transplant, how should they begin the process and something essential to be they should know of?
Of course, yeah. So evaluation for a transplant is definitely something that's important if you're interested in not wanting to be on dialysis long term. Um, for my evaluations, it was pretty standard in that I had conversations with my transplant, actually my dialysis team, my social worker there, and then also um, being that I became my own advocate, I was able to also talk to the local transplant centers as well to say that, hey, I'm talking to my dialysis clinic. Can we kind of get this ball moving to get me evaluated? And so I, between speaking to both my dialysis social worker and the transplant team as well, I was able to kind of expedite that. So I would recommend um, definitely talking to your dialysis clinic, your social worker first to get that started, and to get the ball rolling to talk to your local transplant center. The evaluation itself, it's pretty long in that it's a probably a half a day to a full day worth of testing. You'll definitely want to make sure that they're going to check you out from top to bottom, from inside of your, from the top of your brain to the bottom of your feet. Check all your blood work. Check, make sure you don't have any other any kind of other diagnosis other than the kidney disease, be it cancer. They want to make sure that you're not a smoker. Some centers will say that. They'll want to make sure that you financially can also afford the transplant as well, and that you have a caretaker that can kind of work with you after your potential transplant as well to be there with you as you recover. Um, so those are probably the more important things I would suggest, and to know that like when you go to the evaluation, that it's going to be a long day, to make sure you have food and water to keep yourself hydrated and eating while you're going through the process because you'll meet each of these people throughout the course of your day. You'll meet the nurse, you'll meet a social worker, you'll meet the dietitian, you'll meet a psychiatrist sometimes, you'll meet a financial counselor, you'll potentially even meet the surgeon who's going to do the procedure as well. So and they sometimes even the anesthesiologist. Yeah.
Oh wow! And where did you got your both the transplants from? Because your
Yeah.
second transplant from was from NYU Longoon, but where
Yes.
was your first transplant from?
Yeah, my first transplant happened in Kentucky, which is where I live, in at the University of Louisville Transplant Center, Traeger Transplant Center in 2006, 2007. Yeah, I'm moving. Yeah, 2007 when I got that one.
Oh, and who was your kidney donor that time?
Yeah, so I had a living donor. So to back up a little bit, so when I was looking for the living donor in that 18-month period, the first time I did dialysis. Um, I had the opportunity to a church I was attending with my partner at the time, who I was with. We attended church together, and the lady who was sitting in the pew behind me um, was actually interested in becoming my living donor. So we had that conversation, and I gave her the information to reach out to my transplant center coordinator to say that she was interested in testing. And so she went through all. And so for a living donor, from what I understand, it takes them a while as well to go through the same kind of gamut of testing like I do as a recipient. But for the donor, they make sure that they're obviously very healthy as well because it's considered elective right now. So she went through the process, and I found out in the spring of 2007. Yeah, my dates are running, they're kind of blurry, but in the spring of the following year of my first transplant, she was able to test, and she was my donor, and I still talk to her to this day. I even all these years later, I still have a relationship with her, and always appreciative of the fact that she gave me my first chance to get a kidney. So, yep.
So nice of her. Any advice you could give to anyone looking out for a living kidney donor? Because most of the patients are scared to ask anyone
Mhm.
to be their kidney donor.
Of course, yeah. So definitely, um, I would say if with the nerves, I think you don't, there's nervousness. There's, I think people who feel like they don't want to be burdening people. I think it's worth just having that conversation with those who you love, who you trust, who you have in your inner circle, be it family or friends, your partner, whomever it could be, to have that conversation with them to help you kind of champion for you. If you don't feel confident and comfortable talking about it yourself as your patient needing to ask for a kidney, find somebody who can help champion for you, who can maybe help create, either any kind of marketing material through social media or through people. I've seen people put like bumper stickers on their cars. I've seen people put things in their windows, in their on their house, billboards, all kinds of different things. So, if you can find, there are resources out there that people will help you pay, will give you like a kind of a kit, and won't you don't have, you as a patient don't have to pay for anything, and they can help you create, you know, business cards and billboard type things, or and I think car decals that you can put on that can share that you're looking for a kidney donor, so you can help kind of relieve that message. And of course, the National Kidney Foundation has a big initiative called the Big Ask Big Give that talks a lot about that as well. And we'll talk about like sharing, how to share your story through social media, through letter writing, through podcasting, stuff like this as well. I mean, they're out there. So.
And any suggestions you would give to the people who are recently diagnosed with the kidney disease, or maybe have not started the dialysis, or even the people on dialysis and the transplant, how to take care of themselves and especially their kidney? Because at all
Mm-hmm.
stages, since diagnosis to the transplant, at every step comes a huge responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, they did. No, definitely. What you're saying is very true. And I think for folks who are early diagnosed, if you can, in my case, I was crashing into dialysis, so I had no idea my kidney was failing. But if you're able to catch it early in the earlier stages of the disease before you maybe start dialysis, or you can kind of, you can hold off on dialysis because they caught it early enough. Definitely look at what you're eating. Look at what you're, making sure that you're keeping your diet in the best form by staying with leafy green vegetables, keeping your protein intake at a minimum, talk to your team about how much protein you can really bring in a given day. Make sure you try to do some semblance of movement, be it walking, if you can exercise, by going to a gym, that could help be helpful too, but kind of keep yourself as healthy as possible. Um, and that's both not only just for pre-dialysis patients, but even if you're on dialysis. I know in my 5.5 years on dialysis this last time, the last probably 2 years I was working out, you know, on and off anywhere from 1 to 3 days a week, just to kind of keep myself as healthy as I could, leading into the potential chance for a transplant. So yeah, I would definitely think that like, if you can definitely keep yourself as active as you can, because being sedentary is not going to be beneficial for you in the long run. So I think that's something to think about.
And could you tell a little bit about the post-transplant recovery process
Mhm.
and even the complications that come in the early days of the transplant?
Of course, yeah. So I now with this most recent transplant, I have now been 4.5 months post transplant right now, and I had, while in New York City at NYU Langone recovering from the transplant, had my fair share bouts of infection, and symptoms of like, again, exhaustion and fatigue. So it's really important post transplant to really make sure that you're in tune with your body. And I'll say for me, in my experience as well, that being transplanted and knowing kind of what things like feel like, or if I feel off, or if I feel heavy because maybe I'm, you know, have a little bit of fluid, or maybe I'm feeling dehydrated, I'm getting a headache, to really talk to your team about those symptoms, and then they can kind of work with you. And in my case, my transplant at NYU was a pretty full, a pretty intense procedure, in that it wasn't done laparoscopically like that it is now, where it's little like simple needles kind of going in, not like this, into your body to get the transplant out and put one in. But I had to be opened up completely, because they had some stuff within my stomach cavity and where the kidney was going to go. They needed to kind of do some maneuvering within and around my body, and so I had to have an open incision, probably maybe this big or so, yeah, but this big, and then in turn, got an infection in my stomach, and so I had to be put on several antibiotics for about two and a half, overall maybe a month to 2 months long. And so that was probably some of the complications I had to face, was the infection and all the antibiotics I was on, and then making sure that while on the antibiotics, that like I didn't have any symptoms that came from that, it be a diarrhea or anything like that, or GI issues, because generally they can tell you that being on antibiotics for so long, you can get gastrointestinal issues. So that was something to be mindful of. Um, and so yeah, I think that was a lot of what I felt I faced post transplant in the time I was in New York. Yeah.
And, I wanted to ask you this question. How many times after transplant do you go to see your transplant team, your nephrologist, and get your lab work done? Because for every
Sure.
patient and even every stage of the transplant every year, it's a different case.
Yeah, yeah. So in my case, right now, like in the first month, it was so right now, currently as it sits, I get my labs done still, and I'm at 4.5 months out. I get my labs done every week. Every Tuesday, I go get my labs done, and then they get read, and then I get usually results and talked from my team. So now, because I'm out of state for my transplant, when I was in New York City, while I was there, I'd get the results back. I would get the labs drawn on a Tuesday morning, and they'd come back the same day because they were in the same hospital system. And I'd see the nephrologist and the team or the nurse practitioner the same day. So I'd get the labs on a Tuesday, and then later that afternoon, I'd see the team, and we'd have that conversation about how things are looking. Now that back in Kentucky, I see a local nephrologist here in Kentucky, but then also talk to my team in NYU so they know that what's going on. And so I go back and forth and having conversations with both of them. And we're still in that process of deciding who's going to manage what exactly while I'm here. The expectation is I'll go back to New York City again in September of this year, and then probably again in November, and then maybe again in January. After that, it'll be almost a year mark. And after almost a year, potentially all of my care will be transitioned to my local kidney doctor here in Kentucky, where I'll still see them probably once a quarter while I'm home in Kentucky, and then NYU will still follow through every 6 months or to a year, and we'll decide that cadence when that time comes.
I see. And could you tell a little bit about your how is your diet looking like post-transplant? Because
Mm,
many people wonder, what do you eat after kidney transplant?
of course, yeah, yeah. So transplant, it's interesting. Like I have found that um, it's definitely you need to be mindful of some of the medications that you're on can you can't eat certain foods like not that I was much of a grapefruit eater, but grapefruit and certain medications aren't very good. Star fruit, certain other certain kinds of fruits that really can affect your medications you're supposed to stay away from. But other than the fruits that I don't even eat anyways, I'm pretty much more or less free to eat what I want that I've seen, and I've not had any issues with any of my labs being wonky because of what I've eaten. But yeah, usually you can eat, like for example, on dialysis, you had to always be mindful of like your protein and your phosphorus, for example, was always the big one. And my phosphorus during dialysis was not great. I'll be honest with you. I really struggled mightily with those binders because they were so big and they didn't taste well, and like you always had to have one with you anytime you ate something. And so I struggled with that a lot. And my phosphorus I'd miss doses sometimes, and it was just hard to take. But um, now with transplant, I'm able to eat what I want, but I'm still mindful. I'm trying to like obviously not be eating junk food all the time. But I will definitely eat a salad. I'll do chicken, lean chicken. I'll do I enjoy my ice cream, so I'll have some ice cream every once in a while. But I can have that now, right? And with my shrimp, but I'm still mindful of it as well.
And I want to ask about the financial aid options and
Mhm.
resources available for the kidney patients, because as the kidney patient, it takes a toll on the individual as well as a family financially.
Oh, 1,000% deep tea. Yeah. So I would tell you that um, being somebody who actively I worked while I was on dialysis, but I did that for like 4.5 years. I worked full time while I was on dialysis, and it was I mean I needed it for my family, but after a while it wore on me, and so the last year and change after before I got my kidney transplant, I went on short term and long term disability with my employer, and then proceeded when I was getting ready to um, not I was getting ready to go on Social Security disability, and then I got the transplant, and so was able to still get the Social Security disability while I'm transplanted, and I'll have that for a while. I think a year and maybe longer, depending on what I can do for work and what work looks like for me. But yeah, the financial resources that are out there, of course, um, if it's common knowledge, if you have Medicare, you can go on Social Security disability and apply for those benefits through your state. and have that application and be able to get some assistance. It's everything, every little bit helps. And then while I was in New York getting my transplant, I had to relocate myself to New York City, and not be in my home state. So that was the burden on my family and I financially. And so I had to, I did a, I did a fundraiser. I did a crowdsourcing GoFundMe page to assist in helping while I was in New York, going to and from appointments because insurance doesn't cover transportation to and from follow up appointments. Um, and medications, obviously, most of them were covered. There was one that wasn't. So I was able to get help with that one medicine that wasn't covered. Um, and then also, flying, having to fly back and forth to and from New York, Kentucky is going to be a cost that I'll have to incur. And so I'm trying to find different, I have found different resources. And there's a thing called Angel Wings or Angel Med Flight where they can help you pay for flights to and from your follow up appointments for transplant. So I've utilized that resource as well. So that's always an available resource if you are out of state and looking to get a transplant from where you live to where you're needing to go for transplant care. You can find resources that can help pay for that as well and give you that they can volunteer a pilot to come pick you up and fly you there as well. So I'll be utilizing that in September when I go to New York, back to New York. So yeah, so it's all a variety of different things. There's fundraising. There's obviously resources through different organizations. If you check through your organ procurement organizations in different places, I've had the opportunity to talk to my local organ procurement organization to help me offset some of the costs for my like Uber rides to and from while I was in New York. So they were able to help give me like an Uber gift card for X amount of dollars to help for my transportation to and from like where I was living to the hospital and stuff like that. So those are some of the things you can do. Yeah, definitely.
And I would like to know that you've recently started coming on this page, Expert Online, something. Can you tell a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was doing some research as I'm recovering from my transplant right now. I have found that I have had, you know, I feel like as a patient advocate and strategist, I've been able to kind of share my story, and I'm one person, but I feel like I have knowledge to be able to give people an understanding about early diagnosis of their disease, all the way from what modality education would look like to potentially what nutrition would look like, all the way to what evaluation looks like for transplant. Kind of what our conversation is deeply today is about. So every expert is a platform that I found that really that is at no cost for me to kind of put myself out there. Um, to I've done this for years where I've had conversations one to one with people about what it's like to be on their journey with kidney disease. And so if I can kind of give them any assistance or coaching or help along that journey to give them guidance to make sure they don't feel that they're lost or confused on this journey, to give them peace of mind. So my Every Expert page is as I'm beginning to start a one-to-one coaching, an hour of your time of being able to have a conversation with me about your journey and what you are looking for, and helping you kind of go through this journey with kidney disease and help you, if there's specific issues of like, what does it mean to be evaluated and what does that look like? Or I'm getting ready to start dialysis. What are my options for modality education? I can help kind of give them guidance through that process.
And what is the website where the people can reach out to
Yeah,
you?
sure. I'm going to let me get pulled up here. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me a second. Yeah. So it is everyexpert.com / and then it's my last name, Berrios, Berrios, the letter A, 1234. So that's the website. And I can go ahead and I'm going to share it in our chat, and that might be easier as well.
Yes, and I'll put this in the description as well so that
Hmm.
if anybody is looking to reach out to you,
Sure.
they
Thank
can
you.
connect directly with you on the website itself.
Yeah, wonderful.
And another question, so
Hmm.
let's get to know Alex a little better apart
Sure.
from the kidney disease.
Of course.
Uh, what is your favorite place for vacation?
Oh gosh, anywhere on the beach. Definitely, on the south side of Florida, where the beaches and the waters are blue and the sand is nice and white. I love beach outdoor. Yeah.
What is your favorite holiday?
Definitely Christmas.
Uh, favorite time of the year, Christmas?
No, actually, favorite time of year is spring. I enjoy spring a lot. I love the newness of like when I'm a big baseball fan. I love sports, so I love when baseball season starts. I love when things start to grow and come out of winter when things are dreary and cold and wintry. But during the springtime, things are growing and time for newness. I love spring. Yeah,
And what is your favorite food to eat?
easily lasagna. I love anything Italian, but lasagna is my go-to.
So what is your favorite restaurant?
Restaurant. Oh gosh. Interesting enough, like I like all kinds of food. So my latest restaurant I've enjoyed is a couple of local Thai restaurants. I like Thai food as well. So, yeah.
Uh, what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? A couple of them, depending on the topic. I like West Side Story. I'm a musical fan. I love West Side Story, but I also like baseball movies like Field of Dreams as well.
Favorite movie star?
That's a good one. I've liked Denzel Washington. He's a good one.
And favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh gosh, ice cream flavor. I like cookie dough and anything with peanut butter.
And what you mentioned you already have dogs as a pet, but
Hmm.
if given a chance you can have another pet, what pet you would like to have?
So they're not domesticated, but I enjoy them. I love sea otters. I would love to have like an aquarium. If I had all the money in the world, I had like an aquarium. I'd love to have sea otters. I love otters, yeah, and meerkats. Yeah. Mm.
And last question, any advice for the people watching this video?
Oh no, I think that yes, advice I would give here would be um, just to continue to be your best advocate for yourself, your best empowered to feel like as you're dealing with this disease, as you're dealing with this journey, to know that you're not alone in it, and to know that there are people on your side here to help guide you through this journey, and to know that to find similar people, loved ones if you have it, that to reach out to them, to have that conversation as you kind of go through this disease. Yeah.
Eh, Thank you so much, Alex, for your time today. And thanks everyone for watching this session. Keep sharing Kidney Talkies with your friends and families. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel.